Lost souls of the phantom hiker. After the tragic loss of his wife, Jack, a lonely widower, sought solace in a remote cabin nestled at the edge of the forest near the infamous Lost Trail. The isolation and quiet promised to ease his grief and mend his shattered heart. Soon after moving in, Jack began to hear hushed whispers on the wind, stories of the phantom hiker and the tormented souls that haunted the dark corners of the woods. The chilling tales of ghostly apparitions and unexplained disappearances left him uneasy, but the gnawing loneliness that plagued him was even more unbearable. In his desperation for companionship, Jack decided to seek out the spirit of the phantom hiker, believing that even a connection with the supernatural would be better than the crushing weight of solitude. Armed with little more than his grief and a flickering lantern, he ventured into the depths of the forest, following the winding path of the Lost Trail. As Jack delved deeper into the woods, the whispers grew louder, morphing into anguished cries and tortured screams that echoed through the trees. Unbeknownst to him, his search for the phantom hiker had unleashed the tormented souls of the spirit's past victims, their ethereal forms materializing in the darkness around him. Haunted by the ghostly apparitions, Jack found himself drawn into the dark history of the forest. He discovered that the phantom hiker was once a man named William, who had been wrongfully accused of a heinous crime and met a cruel, violent end at the hands of a vengeful mob. His spirit, fueled by rage and injustice, had roamed the woods ever since, seeking retribution on those who dared to enter his domain. As the line between the living and the dead blurred, Jack realized that he had become entangled in a web of horror from which there was no escape. The only way to save himself and release the trapped souls was to confront the evil that had claimed so many lives before him. Determined to break the cycle of death and vengeance, Jack returned to the heart of the forest, where William had met his grisly fate. There he found the remnants of an old, crumbling gallows, a testament to the brutal events that had transpired so long ago. Summoning his courage, Jack called out to the phantom hiker, pleading with him to release the tormented souls and let go of the darkness that had consumed him. As the vengeful spirit materialized before him, Jack revealed the truth about the man he had once been and the terrible injustice that had condemned him to an eternity of suffering. Moved by Jack's words, the phantom hiker's spirit began to fade, the rage that had driven him for so long finally dissipating. As the sun broke through the canopy of trees, the souls of the lost victims found peace and vanished, their torment at an end. With the evil that had once claimed the Lost Trail vanquished, Jack returned to his cabin, his heart lighter and his loneliness eased, though the forest would forever hold the echoes of its dark past. It now stood as a testament to the power of redemption and the resilience of the human spirit. In the months that followed, the forest near the Lost Trail seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. No longer haunted by the phantom hiker and the tormented souls of his past victims, the woods regained their once peaceful atmosphere, and the once dreaded path became a place of healing and renewal. Jack, having found a renewed sense of purpose in his life, devoted himself to honoring the memory of the lost souls and ensuring that the darkness would never return. He transformed his remote cabin into a sanctuary for those who, like him, had experienced the pain of loss and sought solace in the embrace of nature. Word of Jack's efforts spread throughout the nearby town, and soon visitors began to arrive at the cabin seeking comfort and guidance from the man who had faced the evil that had once lurked within the woods. With each new connection he forged, Jack found his own wounds beginning to heal, and he discovered a newfound strength in the bonds of friendship and the shared stories of those who had experienced the deepest of sorrows. As the years passed, the legend of the phantom hiker and the lost souls of the Lost Trail began to fade. Replaced by tales of hope and redemption, the once frightening forest became a symbol of the power of human resilience, a testament to the ability to overcome even the most harrowing of experiences. On quiet nights, when the moon cast its silvery glow over the woods, Jack would sit on the porch of his cabin, a warm cup of tea in hand, and listen to the gentle whispers of the wind. The once tortured cries and anguished screams had been replaced by the rustling of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures, the peaceful sounds of a forest that had finally found its way back to the light. And as Jack looked out into the darkness, he knew that he too had found a way to move forward, guided by the strength of the souls he had helped to set free, and the knowledge that even in the darkest of times, there was always hope for a brighter tomorrow. The curse of the phantom hiker. A century had passed since the fateful night that saw the inexplicable disappearance of an entire town near the Lost Trail. The legend of the phantom hiker, a restless spirit bound to the haunted woods, had become inextricably linked to a curse that had plagued the area ever since. Despite the warnings and chilling tales, a group of young thrill-seekers eager to test their mettle against the supernatural decided to campus in the shadow of the ominous forest. Under the pale light of a full moon, they set up their tents and settled in for a night of ghost stories and laughter, unaware of the ancient evil that slumbered nearby. As the fire crackled and embers danced in the night air, they unwittingly awoke the restless spirit of the phantom hiker. As the night wore on, the air grew cold and heavy, filled with a suffocating dread that seemed to seep into their very bones. The once merry group found their laughter dying in their throats, replaced by a growing sense of unease. In the darkness beyond their firelight, the phantom hiker's spectral form emerged, his chilling presence a harbinger of the curse that was about to befall them. As they caught glimpses of the ghostly figure, the thrill-seekers realized that they had ventured too far into the unknown, and terror began to grip their hearts. Desperate to escape the haunted woods and the phantom hiker's malevolent grasp, the group hastily packed their belongings and attempted to flee. But as they stumbled through the dense forest, they found themselves ensnared by the century-old curse, each step taking them deeper into the shadowy embrace of the lost trail. As the curse took hold, the young adventurers were forced to confront the terrifying truth behind the legend and face their deepest fears. Ghostly apparitions appeared before them, their distorted faces reflecting the horrific fate that had befallen the long-lost town. The wails and screams of the damned echoed through the trees, a haunting symphony of pain and sorrow. Realizing that they could not trump the curse, the group resolved to confront the phantom hiker, hoping to break the chains that bound him to the haunted woods and free themselves from his vengeful wrath. Guided by the whispers of the restless dead, they found the heart of the curse, the ruins of the vanished town, long swallowed by the encroaching forest. At its center stood a crumbling monument, marking the spot where the tragedy had begun. As they approached the forsaken place, the phantom hiker materialized before them, his spectral form flickering in the moonlight. With courage born of desperation, the thrill-seekers pleaded with the spirit to release them from the curse and find peace in the afterlife. As they spoke, the phantom hiker's icy visage seemed to soften, the anger and sorrow that had fueled his vengeance for so long fading in the face of their heartfelt pleas. As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, the curse that had bound the phantom hiker to the lost trail was finally broken, the spirit finding redemption and release in the words of the young adventurers. Their ordeal at an end, the thrill-seekers emerged from the haunted woods forever changed by their harrowing experience. The legend of the phantom hiker and the curse of the lost trail became a chilling reminder of the darkness that lay beneath the surface of the world, a testament to the power of redemption and the courage to face the unknown. The haunting shadow of Lost Trail. Under the silvery glow of a full moon, 5 friends gathered around the flickering light of a campfire in the heart of the woods. Emboldened by the stories they'd heard growing up, they dared one another to venture into the infamous Lost Trail, where the sinister phantom hiker was said to stalk and prey upon those who dared to disturb his domain. Armed with flashlights and a youthful sense of invincibility, they trekked into the dark forest, their laughter and banter echoing through the trees. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the woods, the air grew colder, and the friends felt the weight of the legend bearing down on them. It wasn't long before the first friend, a boy named Mike, vanished without a trace. His friends called out his name, but the only response was the faint rustling of leaves carried on a chilling breeze. Panic began to set in, but they pressed forward, determined to unravel the mystery of the phantom hiker. The second friend, a girl named Sarah, disappeared in a similar fashion. One moment she was there, walking behind them, and the next she was gone. The remaining 3 friends clung to one another, their hearts pounding in their chests as they continued down the trail. When the third friend, a boy named Jason, vanished, the remaining 2, Lisa and Tom, realized they were trapped in the phantom's deadly game. As the hours dragged on, their flashlights began to flicker and fade, leaving them cloaked in darkness. It wasn't long before Lisa too was swallowed by the shadows. Desperate and alone, Tom stumbled through the moonlit forest, the ghostly laughter of the phantom hiker echoing in his ears. The twisted trees seemed to close in around him, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal hands. As he stumbled upon a long-abandoned cabin, Tom's heart raced with hope. He pushed open the rotting door, only to find the lifeless bodies of his friends, their faces twisted in terror. The laughter grew louder, more menacing, and Tom knew that he was the phantom hiker's final victim. And the next morning, a search party discovered the cabin, But there was no sign of Tom or his friends. The only thing they found was a single phrase carved into the cabin's wooden floor: "Beware the phantom hiker of Lost Trail." From that day on, the legend of the phantom hiker grew, and the shadows of the Lost Trail became a place where only the bravest or the most foolish dared to tread. As the years went by, the legend of the phantom hiker and the haunting shadow of Lost Trail became deeply ingrained in the local folklore. People from all around traveled to the small town, eager to catch a glimpse of the supernatural, while others avoided the area entirely, fearing the curse that had befallen so many before them. In the nearby town, an old man named Silas had lived through the terror of the Lost Trail. He had seen countless lives taken by the phantom hiker and knew the danger that lay hidden in the forest depths. Despite his warnings, though, the allure of the legend was too powerful for some to resist. One autumn evening, a group of college students arrived in town, their curiosity piqued by the chilling tales of the phantom hiker. Against Silas's advice, they set out to explore the Lost Trail, armed with cameras and a burning desire to uncover the truth behind the terrifying stories. As they trekked deeper into the cursed woods, they noticed a change in the atmosphere. The temperature dropped, and an eerie silence enveloped them. Their laughter and confidence waned, replaced by an uneasy feeling of dread. As night fell and the shadows grew long, the group stumbled upon the remains of the cabin where Tom and his friends had met their grim fate. Despite the passage of time, the warning etched into the floorboards remained, as chilling as ever: beware the phantom hiker of Lost Trail. Ignoring the ominous message, the group decided to set up camp inside the cabin, hoping to capture evidence of the phantom hiker's existence. Little did they know the darkness they sought to unravel would not be contained within the lens of a camera. One by one, the students began to experience strange occurrences. Whispers seemed to echo through the trees, and ghostly apparitions flitted in and out of their peripheral vision. As fear crept into their hearts, they realized that they had made a grave mistake. Desperate to escape the phantom hiker's grasp, the group tried to retrace their steps and flee the woods. As the students were picked off one by one, their screams echoed through the forest, a haunting reminder of the deadly legend that lurked within the shadows of Lost Trail. Back in town, Silas stood on his porch, his eyes fixed on the distant tree line. A sorrowful sigh escaped his lips as he felt the weight of the knowledge he carried. As long as the Lost Trail remained, so too would the phantom hiker's haunting shadow, eternally hungering for those foolish enough to venture into the cursed woods. The Phantom's Trail of Terror. Determined to expose the truth behind the legend of the phantom hiker of Lost Trail, a group of documentary filmmakers embarked on a journey into the heart of the haunted forest. Armed with cameras, recording equipment, and a thirst for the unknown, they set out to prove or debunk the chilling tales that had haunted the town for generations. As they delved deeper into the woods, the crew, led by an ambitious director named Ellen, began to notice a shift in the atmosphere. The once friendly forest grew ominous, and a palpable sense of unease settled over the group. Despite their growing apprehension, they pressed on, capturing hours of footage as they traversed the winding paths of the Lost Trail. By day, the forest seemed almost ordinary, but as darkness fell, the line between reality and nightmare blurred. The shadows that clung to the trees seemed to take on a life of their own, and the whispers of the phantom hiker haunted their dreams. Each night, the crew found themselves plagued by nightmares of a ghostly figure, his face obscured by darkness, stalking them through the woods as the vengeful spirit grew bolder. Their dreams began to bleed into their waking hours, the haunting specter lurking at the edge of their vision, always just out of sight. As the presence of the phantom hiker intensified, the crew found themselves ensnared in a web of terror from which there was no escape. The forest seemed to close in around them, trapping them in its sinister embrace. One by one, the crew members began to disappear, their abundant equipment and scattered belongings the only evidence of their existence. The remaining members, their sanity fraying at the edges, scrambled to find a way out of the nightmarish forest. On the seventh day, Ellen and the last of her crew stumbled upon the remnants of an ancient graveyard hidden within the depths of the forest. The crumbling headstones bore the names of those who had fallen victim to the phantom hiker over the years. As they stared at the names etched into the cold stone, they realized that the legend was all too real. As night fell, the ghostly figure of the phantom hiker emerged from the shadows, his chilling laughter echoing through the trees. Ellen and her remaining crew members were forced to confront the terrifying truth. They were now part of the legend, their fates sealed by their own curiosity. The following morning, a search party ventured into the woods, drawn by the chilling screams of the night before. They discovered the abandoned equipment and scattered belongings of the film crew, but no sign of the filmmakers themselves. The legend of the phantom hiker of Lost Trail lived on, the chilling tale of the documentary crew's fateful journey serving as a warning to all who dared to venture into the heart of the haunted forest. As news of the documentary crew's disappearance spread, the legend of the phantom hiker of Lost Trail gained even more notoriety. The town at the edge of the forest saw a surge of curiosity seekers and paranormal enthusiasts, all eager to uncover the truth behind the chilling tale. Among them was a seasoned paranormal investigator named Lucas, who had made a name for himself by debunking countless supernatural legends. Intrigued by the Lost Trail mystery and undeterred by the fate of those who had come before him, Lucas assembled a team of experienced researchers to venture into the heart of the haunted forest. Using the latest technology and armed with a deep knowledge of the supernatural, Lucas and his team began their investigation. Day after day, they gathered evidence, their cameras and recording devices capturing the air. As they delved deeper into the forest, the team found themselves haunted by the same chilling presence that had plagued the documentary filmmakers. The shadow of the phantom hiker grew ever stronger, his vengeful spirit seeking to claim yet more victims. Determined to break the cycle of terror, Lucas devised a plan to confront the phantom hiker and release his hold on the Lost Trail. Studying the ancient graveyard they had discovered deep within the woods, Lucas and his team began to unravel the tragic history of the spirit that had tormented so many. They learned that the phantom hiker was once a man named Nathaniel, a reclusive hermit who had been falsely accused of a terrible crime and executed by the people of the town. Fueled by anger and a thirst for vengeance, his spirit had remained trapped in the woods, forced to relive his own execution and seek retribution on those who trespassed on his land. Realizing that Nathaniel's spirit could never find peace unless the truth was revealed, Lucas and his team set out to clear the hermit's name and bring his story to light. As they pieced together the events of that fateful night, they uncovered a hidden conspiracy and a terrible injustice. As the full moon rose over the forest, Lucas and his team ventured to the site of Nathaniel's execution. Armed with the knowledge they had gathered, they performed a ritual to summon the phantom hiker and confront him with the truth. As the vengeful spirit appeared before them, his ghostly form flickering in the moonlight, Lucas revealed the evidence that would finally clear Nathaniel's name. The phantom hiker, overcome with emotion, finally found the peace he had long been denied, and his spirit faded into the night. The following morning, Lucas and his team emerged from the woods, their mission complete. The town breathed a collective sigh of relief as the dark shadow that had hung over the Lost Trail for so long finally lifted. Though the legend of the phantom hiker of Lost Trail would never be forgotten, the haunted woods were now a place of healing, where Nathaniel's spirit could finally rest in peace. The Phantom's Unseen Path. Dr. Samuel Adams, a college professor with a passion for the paranormal, had been captivated by the legend of the phantom hiker of Lost Trail for as long as he could remember. Despite the chilling stories and gruesome history, he couldn't resist the allure of uncovering the truth behind the haunting tales. Determined to share his obsession with a new generation, Dr. Adams proposed a field trip for his students, an expedition into the heart of the woods to investigate the supernatural phenomenon. The eager young scholars, drawn to the adventure and the chance to prove themselves to their eccentric professor, readily agreed to the journey. As they embarked on their expedition, the group was filled with excitement, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. Guided by Dr. Adams, they ventured deep into the woods, following the winding path that marked the infamous Lost Trail. At first, the trip seemed like a harmless academic pursuit, the students engrossed in their research, documenting every detail and capturing every strange sound. But as they delved further into the forest, a chilling presence began to make itself known. The once lively atmosphere of the group gave way to unease as they started to experience inexplicable events. Shadows seemed to shift and stretch, taking on sinister forms, and the air grew heavy with a palpable sense of dread. The whispers of the phantom hiker haunted their dreams, his chilling presence lurking just out of sight. As the days wore on, the students found themselves terrorized by the vengeful spirit, each encounter more harrowing than the last. The once skeptical scholars began to believe in the legend they had set out to debunk, their academic curiosity replaced by primal fear. Dr. Adams, watching his students succumb to terror, was forced to confront a terrible truth. Some legends were better left undisturbed. His pursuit of knowledge had led them into the phantom's unseen path, a nightmarish realm from which there seemed to be no escape. With each passing day, the group's numbers dwindled, the phantom hiker claiming victim after victim. Desperate to save the remaining students, Dr. Adams devised a plan to appease the wrathful spirit and escape the dark woods. Gathering the group together, he led them to the heart of the forest, where he believed the phantom hiker's tormented soul had first taken root. As they stood beneath the twisted branches of ancient trees, Dr. Adams called out to the vengeful spirit, begging for mercy and offering a solemn promise to never disturb the woods again. As the wind howled and the shadows danced around them, the phantom hiker appeared, his ghostly form a testament to the horrors of the past. Faced with Dr. Adams' heartfelt plea, the spirit seemed to pause, considering the desperate offer. In a final act of mercy, the phantom hiker released his grip on the remaining students, vanishing into the darkness and allowing them to flee the forest, their lives forever changed by their brush with the supernatural. As they emerged from the woods, Dr. Adams and his students vowed never to speak of their harrowing experience again. The legend of the phantom hiker of Lost Trail remained a chilling reminder of the price they had paid for their curiosity and the grim truth that some things were better left hidden in the shadows. In the aftermath of their harrowing encounter with the phantom hiker, Dr. Adams and his students returned to their lives, forever changed by the darkness they had faced in the heart of the woods. The once cohesive group now found themselves fractured by fear, each person retreating into their own solitude, grappling with the memories of the terror that had stalked them. But Dr. Adams, consumed by guilt over the consequences of his obsession, resigned from his position at the college and retreated to a remote cabin, where he sought to escape the haunting whispers of the Lost Trail. The weight of the lives lost during the field trip bore down on him, a constant reminder of the price they had all paid for their curiosity. Meanwhile, the surviving students struggled to return to normalcy, haunted by the chilling presence that had tormented them during their time in the woods. Sleepless nights and vivid nightmares plagued them, as the once rational scholars found themselves questioning the very fabric of reality. As the months passed, rumors began to circulate around campus, whispers of the horrors that had befallen Dr. Adams and his students in the haunted woods. Though the group had vowed to keep their experience a secret, the truth had a way of seeping through the cracks, and the legend of the phantom hiker of Lost Trail continued to grow. One by one, the surviving students found themselves drawn back to the forest, unable to resist the siren call of the phantom's unseen path. Each felt a sense of unfinished business, a need to confront the darkness they had left behind and make peace with the past. As they returned to the woods, they discovered that the phantom hiker's presence had diminished but not disappeared entirely. The vengeful spirit still lingered, bound to the Lost Trail by the weight of his tragic past. Determined to release the phantom hiker from his eternal torment, the group banded together once more, setting aside their fear and seeking a way to break the curse that held the spirit captive. As they searched for answers, they uncovered long-buried secrets and hidden truths, revealing the tragic tale of a man wronged by those he had trusted. With newfound determination, the survivors confronted the phantom hiker, offering him a chance at redemption and forgiveness. As they spoke, the spirit seemed to waver, the rage and bitterness that had fueled him for so long gradually replaced by a sense of peace. In a final act of reconciliation, the survivors and the phantom hiker came together, breaking the cycle of vengeance and fear that had haunted the Lost Trail for so long. As the sun set on the haunted woods, the spirit of the phantom hiker finally found rest, his soul freed from the darkness that had once consumed him. In the years that followed, the legend of the phantom hiker of Lost Trail became a distant memory, a whispered cautionary tale that slowly faded into obscurity. For the survivors of the harrowing expedition, however, the experience would never be forgotten, a haunting reminder of the power of forgiveness, the weight of the past, and the unseen paths that lie within the heart of the darkness.